Welcome to Breaking Banks Africa. I'm Matteo Rizzi, and together with my co-host Nadine Doro, let us take you on a journey of entrepreneurship, innovation, and vibrant ecosystems Africa has to showcase. More than 1 in 4 people will be African by 2050, this continent being already the youngest of the planet. You can't miss these stories. This is Breaking Banks Africa. Let's roll. Hey guys, welcome to the 6.0 Conversations at Inclusive FinTech Forum. We are in Kigali. It's the 2025 edition. My name is Matteo Rizzi. I am usually the executive producer of a lot of podcasts, but today I'm super happy to be here with Thelma Quaye from SmartAfrica. Thelma, is that your first podcast?
Yes. No, actually, no. It's my second, but I'm very new to this.
Wow, that's amazing. I love when I got newbies on the show. But the reason why I really wanted you, Thelma, on the show is because we clearly have a common passion, which is capacity building and nurturing talent in Africa. But I will start by sort of inviting you to share your story a little bit, please.
Absolutely. So as said, my name is Thelma Quaye. I'm an engineer by training. I read electrical and electronics engineering in Ghana. And then I worked extensively in the telecom sector in Ghana again. I was the chief technical officer of Airtel Ghana.
Wow.
Until I left to pursue other things, including SmartAfrica. I've been at SmartAfrica for 6 years now, and I lead the Directorate for Skills, as you said, for digital infrastructure and for gender.
So maybe a couple of words on SmartAfrica. Now everyone know, because I'm really fascinating about. It's fascinating how, on one side, many people don't know SmartAfrica as an organization, especially at maybe lower level, but at a high level, everyone knows you guys, right? Because it's a very it has a lot of gravitas, right? So shed some light, because not everyone of our listeners might know.
Absolutely. So SmartAfrica is a Pan-African organization. It was founded in 2013. We started with 7 member states, but now we are at 40 member states. I think the reason why you say at the top level or the political level we are known is because our heads of states are our board members. Yes. And then on the strategic level, operational level, it's the ministers of ICT. Those are the anchor or the anchorage within the countries. So that's why we are known. But also, because we are quite young, from 2013 till now, we've been more focusing on blueprints, on strategies, on policies. That's where most of our work are in. But for the past 2 years, we are now pivoting into implementation. So I'm sure in the next 2 or so years, even the lower level, as you put it, would come to know us, because once we implement, we are going to interact more with the masses.
And this is actually a great segue to the second topic of conversation I wanted to talk about, is that you all know, and yesterday you and I were together sitting on a panel talking about capacity building and talent development. Actually, it was an amazing day. I mean, I felt so much energized and exhausted at the same time. But I see already that there are different programs that are being rolling out by SmartAfrica. Can you please tell us a little bit what they are? And I suppose that the objective is to raise up, what we call the basis of the talent, the base of the talent pyramid. And how can we sort of, me as a student or as a young African, can interact with these projects?
Okay, so before I get to the capacity building, I'll just explain a bit broader what we do. So we have divided what we do into 4 pillars. We have connect, innovate, transform, and accelerate. Under Connect, we work on things that regard internet, broadband connectivity, affordability, devices, cybersecurity, data governance, and the rest. Then we have Innovate, and Innovate is where we have what we call the SmartAfrica Digital Academy, for which we discussed yesterday. And then we also have Women and Girls. Then we have Transform, which takes care of digital trade, cross-border data flows, entrepreneurship, and finally Accelerate. So Accelerate focuses on country interests. So there might be some specific individual countries that want to focus on certain things that we may not have covered under our Connect, Innovate, Transform. And that's where Accelerate comes in to drive it. So back to your question on capacity building, under the Innovate umbrella, we created what we call the SmartAfrica Digital Academy. And the purpose of this platform or academy is to federate a lot of the ecosystem, create an ecosystem of scaling. And for us, we looked through a wide range of demographic. So we look at policy and decision makers at the top. We have a pyramid for that. At the top is the policy and decision makers. These are our ministers, our regulators, our ICT agency, the technical officers within the ministries. Then below them, we have the youth and entrepreneurs, which, you and I are very passionate about. And then we have, teachers and children. And teachers and children, we specifically put it there because during COVID, we saw how, we saw how people struggled, most especially the teachers. Most of these kids were, tech savvy, but, their teachers were a bit hanging. And then finally is, the masses, what we call digital literacy. So I'll touch a bit more on the policy and then the youth and entrepreneurs. So for the policy and decision makers, for us, it's very important because the vision of Smart Africa is to transform Africa into a single digital market. You cannot do that without policy. You cannot do that without regulation. But also you cannot do that without capacitating the people who do the policy, right? So our objective is to capacitate these people to understand why they need to do certain policies, but also to make regulation more agile than punitive.
I also, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to double click on what you just said, because actually one of the mistakes a lot of people do is that they only think short term, right? And you're actually doing the opposite, right? Because by having a vertical approach to each, let's say, layer of that pyramid, you're actually also investing in the future of these talents, right?
Absolutely. And once we have capacitated this top layer, the impact trickles down to all the layers, because they will then understand, okay, we need to, skill the youth, equip the youth. So this is the policy, this is the investment, so that was our focus. And then the next layer would be the youth and entrepreneurs. I mean, it goes without saying that the biggest asset we have in Africa is our youth.
Absolutely.
As I said yesterday, we have seen that our youth they're hungry for knowledge. We have tested it, and it's something that if we channel this energy properly for Africa, Africa will be prosperous. And I believe so much that we are on the path to be prosperous. And so for the youth, again, we have segmented the youth into the top 1% that we spoke about, where we are giving them the deep technical skills for these people to be the creators of the future of Africa. So skills like cybersecurity, the core skills of cybersecurity, data privacy, software development, cloud architecture,
data science,
those kind of skills is what we are giving them. And we don't do it alone. We partner with a lot of organizations or companies who want to do this.
Spoiler, I will hope very soon that we'll partner with Time Pledge.
Absolutely, and that's why we are here today. And I believe that's why our path also crossed, because we do have similar objectives. So we can definitely work on that together. Then the next set or the next layer would be the entrepreneurs. There are a lot of, a majority of Africa's market is informal. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, and we want to skill them with the necessary tools to be able to thrive in the new age of the market that we have, but also open their markets, because imagine an entrepreneur in Rwanda, they have access to 14 million population market, but leveraging technology, learning how to use e-commerce, e-commerce, they would be able to, reach 1.4 billion. Can you imagine the impact?
Actually, I also wanted to, share your view about the fact that there are, I want to say, at least 3 velocities in Africa, maybe more. And because SmartAfrica covers 40 countries, I actually was wondering, is this an effort that is broad and across the continent? And if yes, how do you see, both the deployment, the challenges, the acceptance? Is that easier in, I suppose, more concentrated urban countries versus countries like, Namibia or Mali, where, the rural population is way more spread? So give us a little bit of a context in how this effort is different in different areas of the continent.
Okay, I'll get to that, but I think you had asked earlier how, if a student wanted to sign up. So
yeah, it's true. That's way more important. Yeah. You're right.
So we have the platform, the SADA e-learning platform, which is available for students to sign up.
What is the address?
It's SADA, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. So no, we don't need to cut it, guys. It's okay. It's not.
I forget.
Don't worry, but they can Google SADA SmartAfrica.
Yes.
They find it.
If you Google SADA SmartAfrica, you.
That's
find
it. That's all we need to know. Go ahead.
I've forgotten the exact address. So that's where all the content is we have for the youth. But also in the pyramid that I was explaining for the youth, we have the last one, which is basic digital skills for everybody. And the phenomenon there is that everybody should know digital skills just like everybody knows English. So that's it. Now, to your question on the different dynamics. So SmartAfrica, it's a coalition of the willing. Otherwise, we would have said we're in 50+ countries because the AU endorsed our manifesto. But all these 40 countries that we have and we say are countries that have said, we believe in your vision and we will, this is the project we want to lead. So each country leads a project.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to capacity building and implementation, not all countries are at the same level. Depending on the leadership, depending on the vision, that is what drives it. It has nothing to do with the rural-urban population. It's more on the willingness of the leadership, because we go in, we give all the 40 countries equal opportunity, and those who respond, those who show interest are those that we go with. But it will interest you to know that out of the 40 countries, within a span of 3 years, we launched national digital academies in 13 countries.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
13, yeah. 13. So these are countries who said, look, I have a facility, please come and install and, I'll run with you. So those are 13 countries. But we had 39 out of the 40 countries participating in, one SADA activity or the other. So the thirst is there. I think it's just a matter of national priorities, leadership, drive to be able to participate. And we also are very mindful of leaving people behind. And so even the so-called slow countries, we try to nudge them from time to time.
So practically speaking, I suppose you visited a few of these facilities.
Yes.
How does it look like? Like, for example, I'm a given country, I have a space, few thousand square meters, suppose you need a bit of space, and then how does it, do we equip them with material, there are teachers working on it, how, help me picture it.
So, we don't believe in giving everything for free. And so because of that, the country has to show that they want to put a skin in their game.
Of course.
And so the onus is on the country to give us the space.
Okay.
Some countries give us spaces that are already equipped. And so what we do is put in the content, put in the facilitators or the tutors, support them with identifying the beneficiaries through to the stage of certification. And in some instances, we even support them to get internships. Okay. So that's it. Other countries who have given us an empty space, we have equipped it with tables, chairs.
And when we equipped it, is that with you find partners to do it?
We find partners. Oh, okay. We find partners. Yeah, okay. We do find partners. One thing I forgot to mention: we are not only a member state membership organization. We also have private sector, over 60 of them.
Oh, okay.
So that helps us also to leverage. We leverage on our partners. We've worked with quite a number of partners. We also have international organizations who have partnered with us on SADA. We have NORAD, the Norwegian Development Agency. We have GIZ and BMZ.
Of course.
And currently the World Bank. So all these organizations help us in setting these centers up.
So we are getting towards the end of the podcast, but I want to share with you and get your almost feeling about it, because for me it was really something that touched me. So yesterday, there were about maybe, I want to say 50 to 80 students, right? Actually all girls. They were all with a very nice uniform and tie. And it was interesting because by batch of 15 or 10, they all came to me, make a little circle, almost intimidate me a little bit, and they ask, what would you do if you were us? What do you think we should look at? And there are not a lot of people giving us opportunities. And so I'm going to tell you what I told them, and I would be curious to understand what would have been your answer, right? You know what I said is that, okay, ladies, it was the first group, it was 15. And I said, do you ladies go to church? And I said, and they all said, yes, we go to church, of course. He said, well, why don't you make a digital project for your church that all of a sudden gets, all the program online, uses, a communication platform to be able, and then you go and you offer this service to the bishop of your church, and you say, listen, you have here 10 interns that are going to help digitize the church. I simplified, and just to show them that nobody's going to, exactly, if you don't put something, of your own to go and look for it. And this is one example, and I said there are many like this. I don't know if they got it, but I would be curious. And they all had the age of my daughter, so I have a daughter of 17, they were the same age, so I could not sort of dedicate my full self for 15 minutes, but it was probably the most touching experience of yesterday. One of the things that I remember more vividly. What would you have said?
I wouldn't have said anything different, because I realize that the generation now a lot of them feel entitled, they want to be given everything. So the act of volunteering is really key. Also looking at the job landscape of Africa, where we have more people churned out, more than the employment spaces available. I would have said same, that you need to look at volunteering. You need to look around your environment, see what the problem is, try to find a solution, and offer it. But also, even if they were at work, and this is something that I tell my team, you need to not work within the scope of your TOR. You need to be entrepreneurial, you know. The additional thing would be that, because, you know, being entrepreneurial is not just buying and selling or, you know, having your own business, but even in the corporate, you can be entrepreneurial, and it takes you very far.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually forgot to sort of say the most important advice I think I gave them, and that was how I started this whole speech. You say, guys, if you're here with your uniform, you're already privileged, you know, because you're going to school. So first of all, be grateful. And then once, you know, after you realize how fortunate you are, then think how you can make yourself useful. Because, you know, gratitude is something that...
it's a powerful force.
Exactly, and is not always, is too often give it for granted, right? Yeah. And if someone would have educated me when I was much younger, then different times, I was at their age over 30 years ago, right? So you can't really, no, come on, 40 years almost. So you can't really compare. But I'm happy that, you know, you and I would have been aligned if you would have been with me.
No, absolutely. Volunteering, being entrepreneurial, gratitude. And anybody who knows me personally knows one of my mantra in life is gratitude.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Thelma, thank you very much for this second podcast that we have spent together. Guys, this is a CXO conversation, and it's a wrap. Hey guys, welcome back to the CXO conversation, also in collaboration with Breaking Banks Africa. I am Matteo Rizzi, here live from Kigali, and I'm here with, can I say brother, but I should officially say friend, Kosta Peric from the Gates Foundation. Kosta, welcome.
Hi, Matteo. Pleasure always to see you.
So, you know, Kosta and I randomly do this thing in, you know, several events. We are not short of a life together, but I still would like Kosta to share a little bit your background. We are both kind of old, you know, so let's try to make it
Sure.
the succinct version of it.
Yeah, so thanks, Matteo. So I work at the Gates Foundation in one of the strategies that is in the non-health area. It's called Inclusive Financial Systems. It's about financial inclusion, connecting the estimated still 1 billion people unbanked to an adequate financial service. Of the 1 billion, 420 million, I think, are in Africa. And what we do is we facilitate the development and deployments of instant payment systems as a digital public infrastructure, because we know from many research and experiences that that is the most scalable way to include a large number of people. So I've joined the Gates Foundation in 2013. Back then, the number was 4.5 billion of unbanked. So we made a lot of progress with not only us, of course, but the whole financial inclusion endeavor. So, but there is still ways to go. I joined the Gates Foundation after 24 years, you know, this at Swift, where I guess I've done pretty much everything except HR.
No, sorry guys, I have to step in. Not only because I probably know his bio as good as he does, but also because indeed we spent 13 out of this 24 years together at Swift.
Yes.
Because we left Swift at the same time. Yep. And you know, Kosta, I was actually reflecting on this. Sometimes, you know, years pass by, and some of the things that used to be sort of everyone knows, they are sort of going into oblivion, you know, and nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
But I want to remember something. So if there is one word that, you know, business-wise, people would ask me to define you, I would say the architect with a big with the big, because this is what your brain is always wired to. And guys, Costa, started being an architect at Swift.
Yeah.
And he sort of put the sign on SwiftNet, which was the big migration from X25. I don't know how many
people even know
exactly. They will probably think this is a rocket name that goes to Mars, right? So from X25 to IP, guys, if you were there 25 years ago, that's more or less what happened. And then, he also witnessed, and we did this together, the sort of the sunrise of fintech, with InnoTribe back then, right?
No, I dare say, I dare say,
you can dare.
that I think you were part of the inventing the word fintech. I think so.
Oh, that's
back when we were in innovation, the InnoTribe, the innovation arm, post the big crisis of 2008, and there was no fintech. There was
not in the way that
not
everyone
in the way
today.
Exactly. And then I think we contributed to, I think, without false modesty, to coin the word fintech. I think
absolutely,
so. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so now it has been, for me it's easy because it's very soon going to be 50% of my life outside Swift.
Mm-hmm.
For you, you're certainly going to be there, but unless you work until 90 years, you would be. It would be more complicated, but I know you want. So I know it's going to, but it's a fascinating journey, right? From 4.5 to a little bit more than 1 today.
Yes.
If you would name like 2 or 3 initiatives that you think have marked, this decade, and what is it like the health, when eradicate that 1% of polio cost more than the other 99%?
Yeah. So yes, in short, we have managed as an industry and counting, the philanthropies and all the development partners to get that number down. But the estimated 1 billion that remain indeed will be the most difficult, the most remote, the most poor, sometimes illiterate people. And so that's why we actually need to double down efforts because it is, the most difficult thing to do. And so and by the way, if we want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, that needs to be done by 2030. So I think it's possible. I think we can do it. It's just that we need more attention on scaling. So what we know works, how we got from 4.5 to 1 billion is with digital platforms, digital identity, digital payments, instant payments. Specifically, when I started in 2013, there was no instant payments.
Yeah.
There were a few innovation that prefigured what instant inclusive payment system would be, notably mobile money in Africa. But that was a huge innovation, and that there is no question now whether a country should implement instant payment system, but like how and when, because we know that. And so scaling that, because India is a great success, but and 1.2, I think, billion people included, huge success. They had the advantage, it's a one country, one regulatory system. Yes. Brazil, another huge, great example. Africa has to have an African way. Africa is 54 countries, and each have their own specificity. So we have to respect that. Every country, instant payment platforms as digital public infrastructure or sovereign strategic digital assets like highways and hence we need to facilitate the creation of that as fast and as repeatable as we can. And partners like the World Bank, Africa NENDA, to just, talk in Africa, the Mojaloop Foundation, the open source movement, all of this together, all the other development partners is really aligning on this goal and getting this done. Meanwhile, of course, the next innovation happens, which I think will be hugely powerful in including this 1 billion. Now that the countries have started deploying these digital platforms, the next natural thing is, of course, to interconnect them cross-border. Why? Because remittances. Africa is the destination of a huge amount of remittances, and that the appeal of digital platforms for that last segment of the population is going to be huge to attract them to come in because they can receive the remittances cheaply, digitally, instantly, and that's so scaling and then adding value to this. And then the third, which we just discussed right before while we were waiting, generating innovation on these platforms. The new Ubers.
Yes.
Of Africa.
And it goes way beyond that pure financial services, right?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I would dare also to say that sometimes, mobility is the best way to include financially for a gazillion of good reasons, right? Funding of the vehicles, payments, the mobile payments, insurance, micro-insurance, right?
I agree. Think about how people in London, Singapore, Tokyo got familiar with digital payments, transportation.
Absolutely.
The cards, right? Now it began with cards. Now we're all with phones, but that's how people got familiar with digital. And I think that's a huge case. Just look at the outside on the street here in Kigali, all of the transportation, the motorbikes.
And it's funny because there are so many books we could write about the people we have met in the past, and I only I count the outside of Swift life for now.
Yeah.
But I wanna remember a couple. I'll start by one, and you give one.
Yeah.
You remember when? Thanks to the Gates Foundation, we did this enablers group back then, already pioneering some of this interregional and the interoperability of payment system.
Yeah.
I think it was back 2015, 2016.
Yeah, about that.
And back then, here in Rwanda, remember, one of the people that helped us to gather the very first meeting was Philip Ngarambe from AC Group.
Yeah.
Remember Philip?
Yeah.
And so what Philip always tells about both of us is that we back then told him that he was in FinTech and he didn't know. Because remember, he already had back then 700,000 cards. Now is 1 million cards. Bus cards they have.
Yes.
So they do this octopus, but for a bus here in Kigali, right?
Yeah.
And they are only getting a FinTech license recently. They did get a payment license.
Yeah.
But it was incredible how some of these entrepreneurs, they were already doing financial inclusion and FinTech paradoxically without realizing. This is one of my favorite
story.
Exactly, one of my favorite stories. Do you have one in mind you want to share?
Well, there was an announcement yesterday of the new upgraded eCash RNDPS 2.0 system yesterday. Big announcement.
Yes.
It took. This is a great example of a digital public infrastructure deployed on a national scale with additional use cases, not only P2P, but actually merchant transactions and G2P coming and others. I think that's the result of vision, great vision, enlightened driving of this project in Rwanda. And Rwanda is a great case because people may argue it's a smaller country. There is a lot of people already included. Yes, but to the point you're making, this is only the beginning. Adding more value, more digital capability, more cheaper, faster. That's the whole point. It's a great success story. I was so happy to be here with our partners and the Rwandan stakeholders. Very happy to announce that. Great story, and it's a story that repeats itself in many other countries. Which
I always like I think I call you the architect because Mojaloop is indeed the origin of that was this common ground. We talk about the pipe, right?
yes,
And now, especially here in Rwanda, to like continue the metaphor, we need people to build, the tubs and the showers
right,
and
right,
the
right.
pipe. The pipe is there, but the fact of having a pipe with a very simple API that allows you to develop application
Yes,
is probably what is going to be this ripple effect, right? To
exactly,
accelerate.
exactly. Because if you want to do transportation, well, you need to pay
Absolutely.
instantly, easily, and integrate apps to that. And that's one of the great things about Mojaloop. I was concerned that you were going to say I'm the father of Mojaloop. I'm not.
No.
Someone, Miller Abel on my team, is the father. I kind of envisioned the fact that open source was important to the endeavor. Not all countries will go with open source, but many do because they see advantages. But the nice thing about Mojaloop is that it's like the best technology you can find, especially for the integration like that, API based. I mean, it's super lean, super fast, and yeah.
So it's incredible how, without knowing, you gave me the segue for the last. It's not really a question. The last sort of topic I want to share.
Yeah.
You're a dad of a lot of things, technologically speaking, and in terms of business. And you recently became a granddad.
Exactly.
Right?
Just 2 months ago.
Exactly, despite the fact that he looks much younger, of course. And I want to ask you the same thing that someone asked me the very first day of the conference. So first day of IFF, I ran the talent stream the whole day. After I did the debrief, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., I was exhausted. And I was sitting at the table, someone comes, a good friend, says, "Oh, Matteo, you still like it?" And I said, "Listen, I'm exhausted, to be honest." And I spoke with more people I can remember, and I hugged so many people that, my arms are tired. And yet, when I see people that come and say, thank you, because thanks to whatever award and advice or something that you build that sort of was the opportunity for them maybe to raise money or to meet that particular partner, I can see, right, that there is an impact. And that it was bring me forward. So I said, well, yes, I do. And, every year I'm a bit more exhausted after a day like this, but I still like it. What about you?
Remember, my kind of motto really is passion, perseverance, and patience. What we do is not something that's you can see the result in the next day or month or even year sometime. But you can see the impact. Like yesterday, this was such a great moment, such energy. That's where passion comes in. Like after sometimes going through the trenches and you go like, man, like, how do we get this done? And then you come to the announce, it's there, it's working, having impact on millions of people. That's where the energy comes from. And I can do it many, many times over and over again because that's the passion, right? That's how it comes. And the impact is clear. and truly it's like millions, billions really of people. So, and I'm in this, having said that, I happen to be in this foundation where you can actually do this. You can
afford to be patient.
You can afford to be patient. You can afford to persevere because you don't have a quarterly whatever revenue, or you can do this. And I kind of like am in a really privileged position to be able to do that, knowing where I'm coming from. So yeah.
The only thing when you talk with Kosta, guys, is that you have 20 minutes of something that could easily last 2 hours, and just sharing, not even talking about business. But Kosta, thank you very much.
Absolutely, anytime,
for being with us.
Always a pleasure.
That is the CXO conversation at IFF 25, and this is a wrap. Hey guys, welcome back to the CXO conversation live from IFF 25 in Kigali. I'm here with two of the souls of this event, Leila and Christian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo.
This will also go on Breaking Banks Africa. I'm Matteo Rizzi, you know it by now. Let's start with a quick intro, and I will start with Leila. Please tell a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Matteo. My name is Leila. I lead the FinTech Secretariat at Rwanda Finance, the organization that's building and implementing the Kigali International Financial Center. So I'm pretty much FinTech.
That's good. Christian
Kajeneri, Director of Payment Systems. We do licensing, issuance, licensing approvals. We do supervision and oversight of all PSPs, payment service providers, or commonly called fintechs.
Of course, from BNR, right?
From the National Bank of Rwanda.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, as I said, two of the souls of IFF. Second edition, we have been waiting a lot for this one. Today is the third day, but we are almost like there are in a few hours we'll close out with the founder's talk. Let's start with an easy one. How do you feel about it? And maybe after, of course, the presidential speech of yesterday, which was the super highlight, what is a moment that is your highlight so far, Leila?
Sure. I think, of course, the presidential address is the highlight.
That's why I said after that.
Yeah. I think the first, I would say I have three highlights. One is I was really inspired by the young innovator, Evelyn, from Lupia, sharing her story. I think that's a typical journey of a startup, but also the entire theme about financial inclusion, economic inclusion, having someone really have started a business to actually drive that economic inclusion, that really inspired me. And it's also like a proof or even a living example of why we bring IFF to the.
By the way, when you think that she started with $500, literally, it gives a lot of hopes,
yes,
right, to a lot of young people, right?
And also the fact that she started with someone. Just three of us here. I put 500, you put 500, she puts 500, and today the organization or the business is valued for over 100.
Yeah, close by, yes, indeed.
So I think that was really inspiring for the innovators that were in the room, but very importantly for the regulators, like Christian, so that they can actually, support innovators, but also for policymakers in terms of, building an enabling ecosystem. I think the second highlight for me was the launch of the Rwanda National Digital Payment System.
I guess you're still in this one to Christian, but that's okay. We'll find something.
I think, we're still in the same space, but he has even more. I was gonna steal the other one, but he has even more. So, again, given that my role is to support the ecosystem, enabling the ecosystem, the innovators, the digital payment system actually drives that for fintech innovators, and I feel like it's going to
sort of now have everyone included into one system. And of course, the third one is in relation to the attendance. I think we had so many people registering last minute. I think just registration, we hit 4,000 yesterday. It was amazing.
4096, I think. Remember
4096.
that WhatsApp in the morning was historical.
And the attendance, everyone is talking about FinTech. Now they know about FinTech in Rwanda. And knowing that over 70-80% are from Africa. So the entire agenda we're trying to drive on the continent, I feel like we're achieving it. So those are my 3 highlights.
Great. Christian.
Good story. First is that the National Bank of Rwanda joined the pack. It was initially Levandi and KIC, today GFTN. The government of Rwanda or the leadership decided that National Bank should be part of this. So, and it came when I had joined the central bank. So for me, that was the first highlight, knowing that we're going to be part of it. Also to lay a foundation. If me and Leila have the same highlight, that means we're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Because we are supposed to speak the same language. So I was actually expecting her to say that her highlight is license passporting, because it's something that she was leading on. But she said RNDPS. She didn't want to steal that. But RNDPS is more central bank than KFC.
Totally.
And license passporting is more KFC than central bank, even though we are part of the implementers. So Project 54 or Africa Next Gen Digital Public Infrastructure was an emotional moment for me for so many reasons. I've read about Kwame Nkrumah, the founding father of Pan-Africanism. And there's a quote in his museum say that Africa will be fully liberated when it's fully integrated. So it was so emotional for me to see that we are signing with Ghana, Rwanda and Ghana, and opening the way to all central bankers. It is, I don't think people understand, but it's quite challenging to have movement of people, movement of money, and movement of goods in Africa. So this is a drop in the ocean, but it's a good start. The other one is Rwanda National Digital Payment Systems or Strategy, RNDP 2.0. The initial phase was more on individual transaction. What we announced yesterday is the merchant acquiring on mobile wallet, which is the backbone of economic growth in Africa. We use the word micro SME digitization, but it comes with acceptance of payment for small merchants. So it's quite, yesterday was a good day. I was telling people 25 is a magic day. I was born on 25th. My wife was born on 25th. Many people in our family. So 25 yesterday was very emotional. So yeah.
I'm really glad.
And also Singapore, one of the things that reduced my anxiety on these preparations, I came here the night before the first day. Midnight, walked around, look at the exhibit.
Everything was set.
Everything was set. Then I was like, hold on, why are you afraid? These are only 30 exhibitors. Singapore had 500. Why are you panicking? So, well, the travel to Singapore was humbling, extremely humbling. And maybe one day we'll get there.
For me, I'm going to share one of the highlights.
Yes.
Because it will trigger a question, and we're probably going on a completely other spectrum of the sort of topics of conversation. As you know, I was like very involved in the first day in the talent track, and for me a highlight was that there were a bunch of student girls, from a college, and all of them. Roughly the age of my daughter. They were between 16 and 18. My daughter is 17. And by pack of 10 or 15, they came after the session and they were asking, and that was really a highlight for me because it's not every day that you can talk with a student that is not your daughter about their aspirations, right? And I said, listen, first of all, be grateful because if you have this uniform today, meaning that you can afford school, and that would be your first sentiment. And then, the world is not shortage of opportunity to learn in very different ways, and you need to find yourself your own way of becoming useful first. True. Even it is, and I said, are you ladies going to church? And they all said yes. Well, why don't you volunteer for a project to digitize some of the things that the church is doing, whether it is linked to the outside. And and there was a highlight because of you talk about being emotional, and you see how this IFF is actually affecting all ranges, from the president to the student and it creates these vibes. So my question is, what would you tell today if a student would come to you and says, listen, I want to know more, because they were saying, I want to know more about fintech, about financial inclusion. What would be your answer? Is a good one, right?
Very challenging one, especially talking to a girl. Let me throw the ball to Christian to start.
That's cool. That's the beauty. In a podcast, you can totally do this. Christian, come on, help us.
Yeah. I was actually having this conversation early in the morning in our command post room, AD6. One of the intern, I think with KFC, he's 26. I told him about a concept of William Shakespeare, that the 7 ages of the 7 steps of ages. Like there's a first 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28. And I was trying to explain to them.
Am I still in, or like after 50 you're just...
No.
Because it seems you still had at least a dozen of steps, right?
I think it ends at 84.
Oh, wow. Then it's...
Yeah, you're still in. And he's 26. I threw a joke to him. I say, you still only have 2 years where people become less tolerant of your mistakes. Like, what do you mean? So I explained to him the concept. My advice, either a girl or a boy, is to grab every opportunity, like you're grabbing the horns of a bull, because there are many people, especially Rwanda, that are still paying a high price to have access to it. You have, I don't know how many nationalities, investors, people like you coming here. Grab every opportunity, meet everyone, ask, learn, dream, think. There's so many people in so many levels that have created a fair environment, access to knowledge, access to internet, access to education, like you said, Matteo. Have grit, G-R-I-T. In Italian, I think you say grita.
No, it's actually, it's funny you're saying this, because Grit is actually the title of an amazing book.
Angela Duckworth.
Exactly.
Yeah, I read the book.
Oh, yeah, there we go. But we don't have this word in Italian.
You don't?
So, okay, it's super interesting. The Italian language doesn't have it, but we have at least 4 or 5 dialects in Italian that have this word.
How do you spell it?
It's called cazzimma.
Cazzimma.
That's how they said in Naples, in the south. In South Italy, everyone is very energetic. A lot of street smartness, and so that's the cazzimma. So that's the grit. And but I completely agree with you. Now you could argue, how do you train your grit? But that's like maybe a topic for another time.
I'll throw back to my sister.
Yes. Thank you. It gave me time to think. I think I was trying to go back to myself.
Yeah.
As a little girl.
Because let's say you were 17 not many years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, not many years ago, but they're becoming many these days. So I think the first thing that I find common to girls in that age and trying to understand, some of these concepts in the adult world. I think the first would be, or even the common one actually, would be to not have fear. I personally sort of had fear. I think it's also a Rwandan culture where girls are not out there back then, not to pretty much easily talk or share an idea, or even grabbing opportunity. You go grab that opportunity. I don't know, I might make a mistake. And I think it relates to what Christian says, where you need to grab those opportunities as early as possible, make those mistakes, pick yourself up. So the first thing I think for me would be to lose that fear. There is a say in Kinyarwanda. I'll try to translate it in English. If not, Christian is going to help me. Ntukiyime ufite ukwima. So do not hold yourself do not hold yourself back if you have that opportunity to grab and it's out there for you.
Until they refuse you.
Until they refuse you. Thank you. And I actually learned that not so long ago, and I think that's what started really to help me move along through my career. And I think that's what I would tell someone who is 17, a young 17 me. Don't fear, grab that opportunity. Until someone refuses you, just push it. Push yourself out there.
So, and actually, it's
maybe
no, by all means, sure.
So I had to check. The word is grinta in Italian.
Grinta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to add on what she's saying, my even though it's that our society, when it comes to women, is less tolerant to see a lady with grit. They tend to label she or whoever to be too ambitious, as if it's a sin. I'm speaking from experience because I'm the only boy out of 5 sisters.
Okay.
They are more or less like Leila. At least one is extremely driven. And
I am extremely driven?
Not really. But, well, you're doing well for yourself. Which above the average, at least. And what really shook me, and that was a turning key point, it's a gift. It's a gift that one friend of mine gave me, 2007. The title is A Return to Love. Most people think that quote comes from a movie called Coach Carter, Our Deepest Fear. Our deepest fear is it to shine and all that. So I read the book before even watching the movie. And what it created me, and wherever I have to inspire anyone, you should never excuse yourself for what you're trying to achieve as a personal success or goal. And you should never excuse yourself for being successful in anything, as long as you don't hurt people's feelings.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Africa, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with timepledge.org. Don't forget to share us out or shout out across social media. If there is something or someone you would like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next month on Breaking Banks Africa.